Thank you very much. So, welcome everyone. We are very happy to be here. I'm Philine Schneider and this is Joanne Pouzenc. We are working as architects, but we are also urban researchers and also working in the field of curation. We recently did last year a festival on Berlin, which was called Berlin Unlimited. And we are often observing societies and mostly the built environment of societies, so built utopias. We want to present a project which already started some time ago. It's called Post+Capitalist City, which is a term that was already used in the 90s by Peter Drucker, who was a sociologist, but since then it has not been used so much. And yeah.
So to understand what is Post+Capitalist City exactly, let's go back a bit in the context. We are at that moment in September 2011, and two really important things happened at that time. We both moved to Berlin, and on the other side of the Atlantic there was the Occupy Wall Street movement gaining strength. What is the Occupy Wall Street movement? Everybody know here, and we are talking a lot about it in Republica. But basically it's a protest that has been funded by a Canadian group, a group that was environmentalist and anti-consumerist, and they were calling for occupying Wall Street to denounce the ongoing system. I mean, you know how it was going around the world with these ideas, anti-corporatist. So what they state at that time is, we come to you at a time when corporations which place profit over people, self-interest over justice, and oppression over equality run our governments. We have peaceably assembled here, as is our right, to let these facts be known. So their ambition at that point is an informational ambition. What they want to say is to raise awareness of most of the people on this topic. But when you try to find a proposal, it's quite complicated, in fact. On the internet, you can find today, quite difficultly, because the website is not existing anymore, something called the 99% Declaration. It is 21 points that were supposed to be proposed in the American government, to the American governments. But when you look at them, most of them are really idealistic and do not say how it works. More interesting, though, the Occupy Wall Street movement said having nothing to do with this group. They declare, we do not support the 99% Declaration, its group, its website, its National General Assembly, and anything else associated with it. And what does it say? It just says that it's really easy to gather people against an idea. It's much more difficult to gather people on a consensus for something. So we know what they oppose. We understand what they oppose, but what do they really propose?
So as architects, we make the first question also, how does it look like what they propose? And what can we do? I mean, there are many initiatives already working on new ways of living together, but what could that look like? So what we did was that we launched in 2012 a competition on the Post+Capitalist City, and we made a statement, curatorial statement, inviting international architects, planners, designers, thinkers to share their idea. And we did that by creating a platform, which was our website, with the statement, and we made a huge communication about it. So basically to every country in the world that we could reach by internet, which is also interesting to see where are the constraints of that. We contacted design schools, architecture schools, writers, thinkers to spread the word of this project.
Actually, what we do not say today is that this cost us to end up on the watch list at some point. But this is another story. You can ask questions about it if you want. So to make it easy, we divided this competition into 4 different subtopics. Because Post+Capitalist City is really vague, we try to put these really simple words so that everybody can identify with it. Everybody shops, everybody works, everybody lives, and everybody moves. The interesting thing is that we put those words together quite intuitively, but in fact it was probably inspired, we should have known that before, by Le Corbusier's statement that was choosing also 4 different categories for living, which was leisure, work, live, and move. Quite interesting to understand that shopping and consumption is actually an invention from the 20th century. We gathered people, and we gathered really interesting people amongst the jury members, because we needed to have some more expert than us to judge the proposal that we got. So among them there were architects, landscape architects, journalists, artists, urban researchers, publishers, writers, and altogether we studied 122 proposals coming from 36 countries, meaning the call was correctly made. And we just did that. We just asked questions which Google cannot answer. We got a lot of feedback from the participants saying, "Thank you to make me think." And I think this was the best compliment we ever had.
So from the statement, we started with the simple question, what if? So what if there was a change tomorrow? And what would be the way that cities would look like? What would be a system that would not be based on money-making or on profit-making? And what would be the consequences for example, borders? Or would they like reinforce, or would they rather vanish? What could be the scale of the change? And the question that was behind of all was, what do we really need?
Well, because when you think about it, it's a really simple question. If I asked this today, maybe you would say, I need money to pay my rent, I need money to pay my food, but in fact, what I need is a roof, what I need is food itself, or clothes, or comfort, or even inspiration. So by stating Postplus, what we wanted to do is not negating the context that exists. We want to understand it and acknowledge it. We can get rid of it by asking this Postplus question, because we dissociate the constraints linked to the context that exists and that are actually accepted nowadays in interesting conditions for our society. We ask to reinvent new constraints, to pattern another kind of society through design, and then, among the idea, even if it's hypothetical, there might be some good ideas that we can transpose back in the reality. At the exact same moment today, there is an opening of an exhibition. It's ongoing for a week, Adocracy in Athens, that is an open source exhibition. And they state, there are other economies and other worlds, and they are in this one. And we really do believe in this.
So this is the outcome, or part of the outcome of what people send. So we had 122 proposals. The proposals were in 5 pages, each of them. So it means we had like 610 or some more visual panels, including diagrams, including drawings by hand. And they were all over like really interesting. They were thoughtful. They were sometimes really disturbing. They were happy or sad, like looking into a very good future or having fear for the future. And
that's it.
That's it.
So this is usually how it stops. Like you get ideas, there is a winner, there are losers, and ideas get back to where they came from. A bit nowhere. But there is no reason not to begin another story from it, because we are still really proud of the answer that we got. So here, today, we have the honor to present Postplus, just Postplus, which is the second episode of the Call for Ideas, and that will be launched in a couple of months. You are the first one to get to know it. Creativity shouldn't be seen as something otherworldly. It shouldn't be thought of as a process reserved for artists and inventors and other creative types. The human mind, after all, has the creative impulse built into its operating system. Because when we make a call for ID for space, we have architectural proposal, and we figured out that this is understood mostly by architects. But now we want to trigger creativity to a broader audience and bring those ideas to the world, and therefore we are asking for texts. Postplus is really simple. It's an ID generator. It's an international writing contest. It is inspired by the Exquisite Corpse, and it's the first participatory publication that recycles the good ideas instead of archiving them, and it invites all writers to write text based on the visions that were born in the mind of somebody else.
So the Exquisite Corpse is a method coming from the Surrealist, by which a collection of words or images is collectively assembled. Each collaborator adds to a composition in sequence, either by following a rule or by being allowed to see only the end of what the previous person contributed. So this is the main idea of how we want to go on.
This is mainly our scheme. We had a text, a statement, a lot of projects came out of this text with the ideas. We selected some project, and each project we will propose them again to the world in order to get text out of it. It can be narrative, it can be fiction, non-fiction, it can be research papers, anything that can be creative and inspired by the project that we will propose, and from that we make a publication. 11 publications, actually. But it can be much more. I mean, there is no reason to stop it afterwards, and it can be also given to the people, because why not doing this system again and again? We would have many more projects, many more good ideas. So now we are sure that you want to see what we are talking about, because we say we have wonderful project and wonderful graphics, but you haven't seen anything. So what we will do is now we will present you the 11 pre-selected projects that will take part in the second call for the competition. And each time we will resume what it is about and quote a bit of the text that were submitted by the authors themselves, because we think they are really relevant still now. This project is called Workshop, Shop We Share. It's quite interesting because in 2012, when it was given, this notion of community was not so much often employed. And what they say is extremely simple, and it has actually been applied without having to control it. It's gathering within the network, it's sharing skills and sharing goods in order to learn more and learn how to deal by yourself.
Physical interaction is what has been lost in urban environment due to the technology and fast-paced culture. The joy of a shopping experience is not only about getting things we want with a swipe of money exchange, but the little events, conversations, and sharing of ideas also contribute to a memorable trip. So these are the statements from the participants.
The second project addresses the same question of the shop, but instead of being based on solidarity and community, because this means that you trust people to have the same interest, they say this should be coming from the top, and somebody should imply you this guilt of shopping and to transform society with time. Basically, it's a proposal of Google Glass. It can be a Google Glass that shows you what you can afford, what you already have, what you need, and that abstracts you completely from the other ones.
Jakarta uses shopping malls as a means of attracting tourism, but I beg to differ. The rise of the shopping malls in this city is destructive. Shopping and window shopping and eating out has become the main activity that the majority of people do on weekends. The city needs new public space to replace the existing malls. The project triggers the self-conscious mind and reduces the tendency to shop. The visors also act as anti-social instruments by keeping the shoppers anonymous. This is done on purpose to reduce the social tendencies in the mall.
What you see now is the third project. It's called CAL, the City Assembly Line, and this representation is actually the territory. The cities are all in networks, and this project proposes to overlap a spatial structure that would make the production to consumption process a dynamic one, meaning the resources are taken directly from the countryside and travel on this physical structure. And on the way, they are transformed into a final product.
The typology of shop changes. We want to leave behind big-scale malls and supermarkets and provide a larger number of shops in a smaller scale with less diversity each. However, we see it as an adequate tool to provide fast connections and high diversity. For that, we establish a new shop typology, a small-scale pavilion combined with a hydraulic storage space on top, directly connected to the shuttle. Pavilions can be installed wherever they can connect to it. Former commercial or private space with its consume pressure becomes publicly used. Shopping is based on curiosity, seeing the customers as explorative flaneurs.
From corporate to cooperate was another project that is extremely strong and quite ironic. So this project proposes to undo the waste of energy, the waste of ground that we have made with Dubai, and to recycle it, to dismantle it, to in fact bring 56,000 new jobs opportunities in Dubai.
Everything in Dubai would be dismantled, recycled, and reused in 3 main steps. First, parks of the city would stop being watered. At the same time, all of the fabrics that were built, except industrial facilities, would be deconstructed. The recycling of the ex-building materials would be done in local industrial facilities, from where the created nature products, like solar panels, wind turbines, and eco-housing parts, could be transported around the world. In the following step, the remaining industrial facilities would be also dismantled and shifted. The remains of Dubai would consist of parts of derelict infrastructure slowly taken over by the Dubai desert.
Fossilized Supra capitalism. It's a structure, it's a building that evolves with life. Basically, it's grounded and founded on death, meaning you are born on the top, the production of food is on the top, and then you go down. I mean, you don't go down, the building grows and takes you, and you work in the central part, and in the end you die, and you make the foundation of this infinite structure.
Time is the most valuable asset we will ever have, and we lose more every moment. We cannot save time to use as currency, and we can no longer expect relief only in death. This project seeks to fossilize the core ideologies of supra-capitalism in a structure defined by our own laws. It is a hopelessly optimistic system which seeks to achieve an end to a self-destructive, self-obsessed, selfish era of meaninglessness and lost purpose.
A story's tale. This addresses the former communistic countries and the development that they had with the mass housing. So it proposes to transform the buildings into communities and villages. I mean, we know this is not a new idea, but by putting some really simple tools for people to share and understand each other. This is another of the projects that actually had another development in the real life with the digital medias, because the neighbor and community sharing options are nowadays available.
This tale deals with an architecture that had lost its ideological framework, already bearing the prefix post, but which, considered anew, has the potential to regain its relevance. The discontents of much of the architectural production of our era are already being voiced, particularly in light of environmental concerns and the loss of cultural heritage. However, in cities such as Bratislava, where the existing stock is abundant and the activity to fill it has ceased to grow in quantity, utopias are no longer to be constructed anew, but indeed carved out of their predecessors.
MacroLot was a really interesting project. It was actually one of the only ones that was addressing the legal ground of the way we build the cities. And it says something very simple. Where there needs densities, there is ground available. Inside the lots, what happens is that there are the limits and the fences that we know that maintain us from building on them. If we put this space in common, then we could have new typologies, and this ground should be not owned by anybody. Therefore, it could be affordable housing, new density proposal.
A MacroLot arises by combining multiple portions of or complete lots together. Local homeowners who encounter financial difficulties can decide to join the MacroLot. Furthermore, a MacroLot will provide new housing units. The new context, obtained by omitting the parcel boundaries, enables different typologies as an alternative on the existing housing stock. As an answer to the current housing issues, the main goal of a MacroLot is the provision of affordable home ownership. The division of land and home ownership based on community land trust ideas is the fundamental principle of the financial structure of a MacroLot.
Paris Circle is a metaphor. Paris Circle, inspired by the Grand Paris project, was saying we need a lot of new housing in Paris for the growing city, and we need to extend its territory. What the author, Philippe Clément, says to that is, we can build a border that would circle completely Paris and make the things really clear. Density is inside, countryside is outside.
We propose a new boundary to Paris, not simply a green belt snaking its way between vacant plots, but a formal boundary, a line imposed and unwavering, redefining interior from exterior. A line of dwellings containing the metropolis and held stable by its occupants, opposing the sluggish blur of suburban expansion, so that finally the metropolis may emerge from the edge of its own horizon. And then, perhaps we can finally ask, what happens next?
Hermitage 4, it's a project that just states, we have taken all the resources available on Earth. What is left is where we couldn't reach before. So there will be a movement that will go from the world to the exploration of the Arctic and to the new colonization of it.
The Arctic is a veritable treasure trove of natural resources, but the seemingly inhospitable and previously insurmountable ice cover made it near impossible for alien stakeholders to access. The Arctic is, however, heating up faster than any other region in the world, and the ice cover is dramatically and conveniently diminishing. Consequently, the resources are made more accessible and new seaways are opening, linking the Arctic with the rest of the world. Heritage 4 offers a post-capitalist overture, reconciling the changing environmental terrain with contemporary ecological, cultural, commercial, militaristic and political agendas, while catering to the local Inuit population. Heritage 4 is just the tip of the iceberg.
Technologic City, what you see now is a mobility map. In fact, the world is divided into a normal grid. The big lines are the fastest connection, the smaller, the slowest connection. And what says that the ground should be given back to nature. And we could live under it.
With the collapse of the communist bloc and the emergence of internet, we have pasted to the age of globality. The concepts of elsewhere, of the unknown, of the still inaccessible began to disappear from our imaginary. At the real-time era, the effects of the increased speed have been reversed. In a world limited to itself, the acceleration stopped expanding the space, but started contracting it. The world is our city, a walled city whose techno-scientific rationalization logic takes control.
The last project is Pilgrimage, and this is maybe a nice project to end because it might state where we are now. Another metaphor that says that we need to gather around signs and symbols that have become too often present in the society where we are, so that the international community agreed on one symbol that is understood by everybody, the arrow, and it gives direction. Maybe this is a map of how our ideas are working, or maybe of how lost we are in the society nowadays.
Around the middle of the 21st century, the United Nations decided that it was imperative to standardize the symbol in the interest of equal opportunity. The symbol, the arrow. People began building monuments of the indicator and moving in the direction it pointed. They built indicators indicating indicators. The resulting labyrinth became so complex that it was impossible to determine for certain if it had any beginning or end. In fact, all that could be confirmed was perpetual movement, ever present in the last common symbol on Earth.
So this is where we are. We are about to launch this project. We are actually seeking for sponsors and partners for doing that, and for making it successful. You've seen how rich are the project, and we hope that it has been a good source of inspiration to start thinking about new questions and things that you didn't wonder before. If you have any question or any information, if you want to know more, you can email us at info@collagelab.org. We would be really happy to follow on the discussion. Thank you.